Ma'am, that bag looks a little too nice for you. You sure it's yours? The words sliced through the warm Austin morning by a cold slap. Officer Darren Lasky wasn't trying to ask a question. He was making a statement. There was no radio call, no siren, no alert. Just a black woman walking with quiet confidence in a luxury bag he didn't think she had the right to own. Jasmine Carter, 35, paused mid-step, her heels resting softly against the pavement of 6th Street. Around her, the city buzzed with life. Coffee carts steaming, morning jazz leaking from open cafe doors. She had just picked up a wrapped copy of The Fire Next Time, a rare find, an anniversary gift for her fiancé. But all that poetry, all that thoughtfulness, vanished beneath the weight of one assumption. She turned, meeting the officer's eyes with a look she'd inherited from her mother, a civil rights lawyer who once told her, "There are rooms where your skin will speak louder than your voice. Don't let it tell your whole story." "That's a serious accusation," Jasmine said quietly, keeping her tone even. Lasky shrugged. "Got a call about a stolen Chanel. You match." "Really?" she replied, tilting her head slightly. "Or does the bag just not match your idea of who should be carrying it?" A college student nearby slowed, watching. A barista inside froze mid-pour. The air thickened suddenly. Jasmine slid her hand into her coat pocket, not out of fear, but to feel the smooth surface of her phone, her shield, her proof, her voice recorder. Moments like these didn't come with fireworks or headlines. They started with a glance, a tone, a doubt. And sometimes, if the camera was already rolling, they changed everything. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city in the comments. And let's see how far Jasmine's voice can travel. Jasmine didn't run, she didn't flinch, but every nerve beneath her skin tightened like a wire under tension. The hum of downtown Austin filled the air. Horns, footsteps, street jazz. But Jasmine heard none of it. All she heard was that one sentence echoing, "You sure it's yours?" She took a steady step forward. The city didn't stop for moments like these. Tourists passed. A woman laughed loudly into her phone. No one noticed what was forming in the space between Jasmine and Officer Lasky, something invisible but real enough to crush. Lasky's boots scraped the pavement as he moved closer, his hand casually dropping near his belt. Not on his gun, not yet, but near enough that the threat was unspoken. Jasmine felt it. She had grown up with that reflex in the air. Her mother once told her, "The silence between a question and a command can be the most dangerous part." She wasn't new to this. Her bag, black leather, gold logo, crisp edges, hung neatly from her forearm. A gift she bought for herself the year she landed her second tech startup deal. She'd earned every stitch of that bag. But here it was again. Her success turned into suspicion. Her celebration warped into a criminal profile. A white SUV rolled past slowly. A man in the passenger seat glanced, narrowed his eyes, but didn't stop. Jasmine saw him in the reflection of a boutique window and realized how used to this city's silence she had become. "Let me see some ID," Lasky said, voice hardening. Jasmine turned toward him completely now. Her reflection shimmered in the window behind her, lined by the glow of a display of handcrafted watches. She saw herself. Salt and caramel skin, long braids swept to the side, silk blouse tucked into high-waisted cream trousers. Nothing flashy, but put on the wrong street at the wrong time, suddenly criminal. She met his eyes. "What's the probable cause?" He blinked. "I'd like to know what law you're enforcing here," she added, "because last I checked, walking while black with a designer purse isn't in the penal code." A beat of silence. Lasky's jaw tightened. Around them, a few bystanders began to slow. One man raised his phone, just casually maybe, or maybe not. Jasmine felt her pulse in her throat. This wasn't fear, this was restraint. This was every history book she'd read, every story her mother told her, every talk she'd had with her younger brother about how to survive these exact moments. A teenage girl across the street started filming. Jasmine saw the red dot on the screen. "I'll ask again," the officer said. "ID." "And I'll remind you," Jasmine said calmly, "you haven't given me legal grounds for a stop." The girl filming took a step closer. Lasky's fingers twitched near his belt. The crowd thickened slightly. Not a mob, not a protest, just citizens who had seen this scene too many times not to watch now. Their eyes didn't blink, their shoulders tensed. Jasmine reached into her coat slowly, not for her ID but for the wrapped gift she had bought for her fiancé, Daniel. She held it up, not as a threat, but as proof. "I came out to buy this for someone I love," she said. "Now I'm being questioned as if love can't look like this." That moment paused the city. You could feel it. The jazz from the nearby cafe slipped into a slow, minor key, the smell of roasted coffee mixed with rising tension. A dog barked once in the distance. Someone whispered, "This ain't right." And that's when Jasmine saw it. On the other side of the block, a silver sedan pulled up. The windows tinted, the energy shifted, and Jasmine knew something or someone was about to change the frame of this story. But she wouldn't move. Not yet. The sidewalk beneath her felt like courtroom tiles, and she was standing on the witness stand of a trial that had no official start. Yet the jury was already watching. The silver sedan idled across the street like a storm cloud, refusing to move. Jasmine noticed it, not by the sound, but by the way the air changed. A pressure drop, as if the oxygen around her thickened. Officer Lasky didn't notice at first. His eyes were locked on her hand, the one holding the neatly wrapped gift. His assumptions had already written her story in his mind, and no facts, no purse receipts, no patient explanation could edit the version he'd chosen to believe. "I'm not going to ask again," he barked. "Put that down and show your ID." Behind him, the girl's phone was still recording. The red light pulsed like a heartbeat. People around had stopped pretending they weren't watching. A man in a UPS uniform shifted his weight, ready to step in if something happened. An older woman gripped her grocery bag tighter. The crowd didn't speak, but their silence was heavy, dense with knowing. Jasmine lowered the gift slightly. Her voice stayed low, controlled. "This is harassment, officer." "Careful," he snapped. "No, you be careful," she said, the heat rising behind her ribs. "You're escalating a peaceful moment because of a designer bag." "I said, what do you see when you look at me?" she interrupted, voice calm but cutting. "Tell me the truth. Do you see a woman buying a gift? Or do you just see black?" The street held its breath. The sedan door cracked open. A sharp click. Lasky turned slightly, enough to notice, enough to frown. The figure stepping out wasn't hurried, wasn't shouting. He walked with the deliberate pace of someone who didn't need volume to command attention. The man wore a dark suit, crisp, tailored, no badge in sight, but the way the officer's stance shifted said everything. "Is there a problem here?" the man asked. His voice was smooth, even. Lasky stood straighter. "This is official business, sir." "I'm sure it is," the man replied. "But official business still requires probable cause, doesn't it?" Jasmine's breath caught. She knew that voice. The man took 2 more steps forward. "Jasmine, he said, his tone gentler now. "You okay?" She exhaled slowly. "I'm fine, Daniel." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The name was not a secret. Daniel Brooks, Deputy Attorney General for Civil Rights, U.S. Department of Justice. Officer Lasky blanched. Daniel looked at him now, directly. "This woman is a federal attorney, and also my fiancée. Are you prepared to explain this stop in writing?" Lasky swallowed hard. The teenage girl holding the phone whispered, "Oh my God." Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Do you have any reason at all to suspect criminal activity? Any report? Any call?" No, sir," Lasky muttered. "Just a concern." "A concern," Daniel repeated flatly. "Based on what? A black woman holding a purse you don't think she can afford?" Lasky didn't respond. "Then I suggest you disengage. Now." For a second, it looked like Lasky would resist, but the weight of every eye, every camera, and every word already forming headlines held him back. He stepped away, muttering something about just doing his job. But no one believed that anymore. Daniel turned to Jasmine. "Let's go," he said quietly. She didn't nod, didn't smile. She just walked, the gift still in hand, steps even, posture unshaken. The crowd parted without being asked. The silver sedan door closed. The engine started, and the car rolled away. On the screen of a dozen phones, the video kept playing. Not of violence, but of exposure. The moment where prejudice was caught in high definition and dismantled by dignity. And the caption that spread across social media said it all. He saw a suspect. She was a lawyer, and she didn't flinch. "You seriously think that bag is yours?" Officer Lasky's voice rang out again in the viral video, thick with disbelief and bias. The camera panned to Jasmine, standing calmly but firmly on the sidewalk, her designer bag clutched in one hand, her phone recording in the other. The footage was grainy, shaky, but unmistakably powerful. Within hours, the video had been reposted thousands of times. By midnight, it had exploded onto national news. On Twitter, the hashtag #JusticeForJasmine trended alongside #WalkingWhileBlack. Comments poured in, a tidal wave of disbelief, anger, and solidarity. This is why we need reform. Every Black woman in America knows this fear. We're with you, Jasmine. The next morning, Jasmine sat in her small living room, her phone buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. Her friend Naya had stayed over, sensing that Jasmine would need someone there. "Girl, you're everywhere," Nia said softly, scrolling through Instagram. "You're on CNN. The Shade Room reposted you. Even Ava DuVernay retweeted the clip." Jasmine rubbed her temples. She had barely slept. "I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to go home." "I know," Naya said, putting her phone down. "But maybe that's why people are listening. You didn't try to go viral, you just stood your ground." Meanwhile, across Austin, ripples turned into waves. The community began organizing. Local pastors, teachers, and activists called for a town hall. City council members demanded an internal investigation. The Austin Police Department released a generic statement promising to review the matter. At her boutique, Jasmine returned to work, trying to keep things normal. Customers came in quietly, hugging her, expressing support. Others came just to say thank you. Flowers arrived in brown paper wrapping, notes scrawled in nervous handwriting. "For your courage." 2 days after the incident, Jasmine received an unexpected call. "Ms. Hartwell, this is Councilwoman Maria Espinosa. We'd like to formally invite you to the public hearing next week on community police relations." Jasmine hesitated. Public speaking wasn't her forte. She wasn't a politician. But after a long pause, she replied, "Yes, I'll be there." When the day came, the council chamber was packed. News cameras lined the back. A group of teenagers held signs. "We believe Jasmine." Accountability now. Maria Espinosa introduced Jasmine gently. "Ms. Hartwell did not come here to lead a movement, but her courage has sparked one." Jasmine stepped to the podium. The room fell silent. Her voice was steady, if a little soft. "I'm not here to make speeches. I'm here because I couldn't stay silent. I was followed, harassed, and nearly arrested for a bag I bought with my own money. Not because I did anything wrong, but because I didn't look right to one officer." She paused. The chamber was still. Every phone was recording. Every heart was listening. "And it's not just me," she continued. "I've heard from dozens of people, teachers, nurses, kids, who've been stopped, doubted, degraded because of how they look. The system didn't protect them. And I want to ask, who does it protect then?" That moment marked a shift. The council established a police accountability task force with Jasmine as one of its founding members. Weekly meetings began. Public forums opened the floor to stories, some decades old, others just last week. At one of the first forums, a retired bus driver stood up. "They stopped me once for smiling too wide while driving. Said I looked high. I was just happy." A young woman shared, "I wore my mom's gold necklace to school. They searched my locker, said it didn't look like mine." Jasmine listened, took notes, held hands. She never claimed to be a leader, but others started calling her one. The local university invited her to speak. Then the NAACP, then national talk shows. She turned most of them down. "I don't want to be famous," she told Nia. "I want this to matter." Still, her presence had power. Her boutique, once a quiet spot, became a symbol of quiet resistance. A mural of Jasmine, painted by a local art collective, appeared on the side wall, her standing firm in her heels, the luxury bag in one hand, her phone in the other. Above it, the words, "Because I stood still, a city moved." The mural became a meeting place. Students held teach-ins there. Survivors of profiling came to lay flowers, candles, letters. One night, Jasmine returned from a task force meeting to find an envelope tucked in her door. Inside, a photo of her in the boutique window, a red X marked over her face. She didn't call the police. She just told Naya, "They're scared. That means it's working." Meanwhile, pressure mounted on the police department. Officer Lasky was placed on administrative leave. The internal investigation dragged. Protesters marched. Journalists pressed. Jasmine remained calm. "I'm not here to destroy anyone," she said in an interview. "But if we're going to talk about trust, we need to talk about truth first." Late one evening, she received another call, this time from the mayor. "Jasmine, we've never seen the city like this. You've changed something." She replied, "The people changed it. I just didn't move." Now, as spring crept in, Jasmine stood at the mural, watching a group of middle school students sketch the scene for an art project. One of them, a small girl with tight curls and shy eyes, looked up and asked, "Miss Jasmine, were you scared that day?" Jasmine knelt beside her. "A little, but I was more tired of being scared all the time." "What made you stop walking?" "Because sometimes," Jasmine said, placing a hand on her own heart, "standing still is the bravest move you can make." And with that, the girl smiled, and the city, once silent, continued to awaken, one step at a time. Where are you watching this story from? Has something like this ever happened in your city? Drop a comment below. Your voice matters more than you think. The hearing room in the Charlotte Police Department headquarters was cold and sterile, its fluorescent lights casting sharp shadows against the white walls. Rows of press, community leaders, officers, and concerned citizens filled the tightly packed space, their voices low and urgent like the hum of a storm about to break. At the front, a polished wooden podium stood beneath the city seal. Behind it, a semicircle of department brass and oversight officials, most in uniform, a few in plain suits, wore faces carved from stone. Chief Lionel Thompson adjusted his tie, though he wore no badge this time. His presence didn't need one. Next to him sat his wife, Alana Thompson, hands folded over a leather-bound notebook, the same leather as the luxury handbag that had sparked it all. Her pearl earrings caught the light as subtly as her confidence filled the room. "We will begin now," said Director Sims, head of the Independent Oversight Board. He tapped the gavel once. "Chief Thompson, your statement?" Lionel stood. The quiet in the room thickened. He looked straight ahead. 2 weeks ago, a woman was stopped without probable cause. She was followed, accused, and nearly had a weapon drawn on her for nothing more than walking while black and confident. That woman is my wife. But today isn't about her alone. It's about every person who looked at the footage and felt, that could have been me. The silence cracked, a few murmurs slipping loose. Alana didn't look away. This department has failed to reckon with the embedded bias that threatens not only its citizens, but its own integrity. I am initiating a formal internal investigation, not just into Officer Ryan Miller's actions, but into every complaint filed in the last 10 years that was dismissed without external review. A loud, audible intake of breath rippled through the room. We will no longer hide behind closed doors. There is no justice in secrecy. From the back, a young officer, no older than 25, clenched his jaw. Others shifted uneasily. In the press row, pens scratched against notepads like knives against bone. Director Sims leaned in. "Do you understand the internal division this could cause?" Lionel didn't blink. "What divides us is not truth, it's fear, and we either confront it or we let it rot this city from within." Alana looked down at her notebook, where only one sentence was written in clean ink. "If we do not speak now, we give them permission to never change." After a pause, Sims turned to the board. "We will now take public comments." The first to approach the mic was a middle-aged black man with tired eyes and a crisp shirt. "My name is Anthony Green. I filed a complaint 3 years ago when an officer forced me out of my vehicle at gunpoint in front of my 8-year-old daughter. The report said I matched a description, no follow-up, no review. My daughter still flinches when she sees a cruiser. The room held its breath. Then came a teacher, a nurse, a high school senior, each voice sharper, clearer, heavier. Their stories stacked like bricks in a wall that no badge could ignore. By the seventh speaker, an elderly woman with a cane raised trembling fingers. I buried my grandson with questions unanswered. If this hearing brings even one answer for another family, let it burn every lie away. Outside, the steps of the department were filled. Hundreds had come, holding signs, live streaming, waiting. Inside, Alana stood. She did not need a script. Her voice rang clear, her eyes steady. There will be those who say I'm only here because of who I'm married to, but I walked those stars long before his title. I paid my taxes, I built classrooms, I spoke at council meetings. And yet, when I wore something that signaled worth, I became a target. She paused. What does that say about how worth is seen in this city? And who is allowed to possess it? One of the oversight members, a retired judge, nodded slowly. I don't ask for special treatment, Alana said. I ask that dignity not be a luxury reserved for some. I ask that no woman, no man, no child feel that they must dress down their value to be safe. As her words echoed, the live stream ticked past 50,000 viewers. Comments flooded the screen. She said it, finally. God bless her. Director Sims stood. This hearing will now recess while we prepare an internal task force and review board. As people began to rise, Lionel placed his hand over Alana's. You started this by standing still. She looked at him. And now the city is moving. And it was. The air outside had shifted. The officers watching from the hallway weren't just listening. Some were nodding, others looked away. But none walked out. The truth had entered the room, and it had no intention of leaving. The morning sun cast a golden hue over downtown Atlanta, yet a chill clung to the air, the kind that whispered of change. Outside City Hall, barricades stood idle, not to hold people back, but to guide them forward. At 7:45 a.m., the steps were nearly empty. By 8:05, the square pulsed with movement. People came in trickles first. A bus driver still in uniform, a college student streaming live on her phone, an elderly man with a handwritten sign reading, "We believe Alana." By 9 o'clock, the entire plaza was packed. Teachers, EMTs, lawyers, baristas, mothers with strollers, and students filled the space shoulder to shoulder. The crowd wasn't angry. It was awake. It was resolved. And at the front stood Alana, holding the microphone, the same designer bag looped over her shoulder, not as a statement of wealth, but of defiance, dignity, and memory. I'm not here to relive what happened to me, she began, her voice calm but firm. I'm here because it keeps happening. Every camera phone in the crowd focused tighter. The live stream view count jumped. Comments poured in. #Justice for Alana, #We stand with her, and simply #enough. Alana continued. They said I matched a description. What description? Being black with a bag that looked too expensive? They said it was protocol, but fear isn't protocol. Pulling a gun without probable cause isn't procedure, it's profiling. A murmur rippled through the crowd. She raised her hand, calming it. This isn't just about me. It's about every time someone is told they don't look like they belong. Every time someone's worth is measured by a uniform and a stereotype. Today we measure worth differently. One by one, others stepped forward. A high school senior who was once handcuffed for walking home with headphones on. A retired nurse who spoke about being stopped for driving too nice a car. A young Latina mother describing the panic when her 8-year-old asked why a cop yelled at her for speaking Spanish. Each story fell into the crowd like stones into water, sending rings of recognition, pain, and power. And Alana listened to everyone. She nodded, she offered hugs, and most importantly, she gave space for their voices to rise. By noon, local news helicopters circled overhead. National reporters elbowed in with notepads. Yet it was the community's live streams that told the real story, raw, unedited, unstoppable. A group of volunteer lawyers set up a booth beside City Hall. A sign above it read, "Tell your story, File your truth. Forms were handed out. Complaints were drafted. Names were recorded. No longer whispers in kitchens or journals hidden in drawers. These were voices being archived. At 2:00 the mayor arrived, flanked by aides and security. She stepped onto the makeshift stage. The crowd quieted, curious but wary. Alana didn't step aside. She stood next to the mayor, shoulder to shoulder. "I came to listen," the mayor began, "not to speak over anyone, not to pacify, to hear." She paused, then looked at Alana, and to acknowledge that when a system protects itself more than its people, it's no longer just broken, it's complicit. The crowd didn't erupt in cheers. They nodded. They absorbed. They measured the weight of the words. Then they looked to Alana. She turned to the mayor, offered her hand. The gesture was symbolic and deliberate. Acknowledgement is a start, but change is the goal. The mayor nodded solemnly. "Then let's start here together." The square erupted not with noise, but with applause that felt like release, not celebration, but permission. Permission to believe that maybe this time it wouldn't fade. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the crowd, Alana stepped back. Her voice had carried them forward. But it was never just hers to hold. It now lived in every person who had shown up, who had spoken out, who had refused to let silence win. In a city that had once looked the other way, eyes had opened, and once open, they could not unsee. The city had awakened, and with it, a movement that was only beginning. Rain had started to fall as Dawn stood at the courthouse steps, her trench coat soaked at the hem, the luxury handbag still looped over her arm like an anchor to the moment everything changed. It wasn't just about her anymore. Inside the building, the trial of Officer Donnelly was reaching its final arguments. But outside, the crowd had already rendered a different kind of verdict. News vans parked along the curb buzzed with electricity. Protesters stood with umbrellas in one hand and cardboard signs in the other. Bias isn't protocol, and you see a bag, we see a threat. The collective presence hummed with restrained anticipation. Inside the courtroom, Dawn sat straight-backed in the witness row. She was dressed simply this time, in muted navy and soft gray. No pearls, no designer brands, as if stripping away the things that had made her suspect. Her hands rested quietly in her lap, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. When the prosecutor began her closing argument, she didn't start with laws or procedures. She started with one question. What did Officer Donnelly see that made him reach for his gun? The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was filled with the weight of thousands who had asked the same question since the video had gone viral. The footage played once more. Dawn walking, confident but calm, her bag catching the morning sun, Donnelly exiting the car, unsnapping his holster, his eyes narrow, filled not with fact but presumption. The prosecutor's voice cut through. No theft, no warrant, no description, just one thing. A black woman with a designer handbag. That was enough. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the problem. Dawn watched the jury, their faces strained with a new kind of awareness. She saw one woman clasp her hands tighter. A younger man nodded slightly. A ripple of understanding moved through the room. The defense argued bias had no role, that Officer Donnelly had acted out of caution, but the courtroom had seen enough caution morph into oppression. When closing statements ended, the judge recessed the court. Outside, the rain had picked up, but the crowd stayed, umbrellas forming a sea of defiance. Dawn stepped outside again, joining them. Cameras turned. Someone handed her a megaphone. She didn't shout. She didn't preach. She simply said, "It could have been any of us. It still could be, but today, we stood up, and we're not sitting back down." Applause echoed off the marble columns. A woman in her 60s wept silently in the front row. A teenage boy clutched a handmade sign that read, "My worth is not a threat." Dawn looked out at them all and realized the trial's verdict would matter. But this standing together, was already a kind of justice. For the first time in weeks, her breath came easy. The courthouse doors creaked open again. A bailiff leaned out and called for the jury. The moment had come. Dawn glanced at the sky, then stepped inside, head high, steps firm. Justice might be slow, it might stumble, but she was no longer walking alone. The verdict reverberated far beyond the four walls of the courtroom. As the gavel struck and the final charges of misconduct and racial profiling were confirmed, silence fell across the entire room, but outside, the crowd erupted. People of every background flooded the courthouse steps, not in chaos, but in clarity. This wasn't just about Maya Brooks anymore. It was about a city that finally stopped turning its head and chose to look itself in the mirror. Maya stepped out into the golden afternoon light, her leather handbag on one shoulder, her other hand holding a simple folded note, the exact statement she had been too afraid to read the first time the police officer had accused her of theft. But she didn't need to read it anymore. Her presence had said everything. The crowd parted, phones lifted, one child tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked, "Is that the lady who didn't let the police scare her?" Her mother nodded. Maya offered a small, genuine smile. She had once been just another woman on the sidewalk. Now she was proof that dignity doesn't need a badge, and truth doesn't ask for permission. As the sun dipped behind the tall buildings of downtown Atlanta, Maya stood in front of the mural that had been painted overnight on the side of the courthouse. A woman, upright, bold, with nothing but a leather handbag over her shoulder, staring calmly into the eyes of authority. "This story isn't just mine," she said quietly to a young reporter. "It belongs to anyone who's ever been judged before being heard, suspected before being seen." Within 48 hours, reforms were introduced at the Atlanta Police Department. Racial bias training was revamped. Body cam footage would now be released to oversight boards within 72 hours. And for the first time, a public forum was held on police accountability, with Maya invited as the first speaker. But Maya wasn't chasing a spotlight. She turned down talk shows and national interviews. Instead, she returned to her community center, starting free workshops on civil rights literacy for teens. The workshops had one simple rule: stand tall, even when you're scared, even when you're doubted, especially then. The final scene cuts to a quiet afternoon. Maya is helping a young girl write a report on her experience of being watched too closely in a clothing store. The girl looks up and says, "Will this even matter? Will anyone listen?" Maya kneels beside her, places a hand on the girl's shoulder and says, "They will, because we don't stay silent anymore." Then she turns to the camera, our lens, our world, and speaks directly to you. You might think you're safe, that you'd never face what I did, but it takes just one moment, one look, one wrong assumption. So let me ask you this. What would you do if someone accused you of a crime just because of how you look? Would you shrink, or would you stand tall? Drop the name of your city in the comments. Let us know where you're from, because injustice isn't a zip code issue, it's a human one. And if this story moved you, if it made you think, share it. Not for me, but for the next Maya, for the next girl with a voice worth hearing. Because silence never protected anyone. But truth always finds a way. The screen fades to black, but the echo of her words lingers. Not just a story, a reminder, a question, a call. Will you answer it?